Hey everybody, it's Tafony here once again. Hope you are doing well. Today we're rambling about the Noise Engineering Melotus Versio. It is a granular Euro rack effect and it sounds like this. Okay, Melotus Versio, if I can just contextualize this a little bit real quick, give you my background with granular. I know a lot of people, at least in my world, I guess, that have chased granular a lot, trying to get some of those really cool atmospheres and stuff with a whole bunch of different modules, be it Morphogene or Nebulae. Those ones are ones that I tried. I never really meshed with it, and up until a time recently where I'm revisiting it again, obviously, but for a long time I sort of figured that the more time I spent chasing that sound, the more I was like, what I actually want is a pitch shifting reverb, right? Like a shimmer reverb, but like a really good one, basically, right? And I'm curious how many of you out there fell into that same trap, if you will, and if you ever found your way out of it, or am I going to find my way out of it today with the Melotus? We're just going to have to find out. So there's also a distinction to be made too between granular as a effect versus granular as a type of synthesis, right? You can play granular synthesizers like the Clouds. It has a volt per octave input. Sort of instead of an oscillator, you're using a loop or a buffer, depending on the module, right, to make little snippets, little parts of a wavetable, if you will, but in a granular fashion, not in a wavetable scanning fashion. I'm trying to make all these untangibles into something specific to talk about on the channel, but all of this is to say that when it comes to the Melotus Versio, the way that it is specifically a effect, right? Like it is has some Desmodus Versio, which I love, sensibilities. It doesn't have a volt per octave input. It's not meant to be played like a synthesizer. I don't have to send it a sequence of its own. I don't have to generate my own randomness. There's some tools on there to do that for you. Gets you into that territory of that shimmer but crazier style. So this is a little backwards per the manual, but I think this is how I would go about explaining this. Let's send it that little simple sequence. And I want to talk about the modes first. So we have a clock input here. You can clock this manually using a tap for gate input into the flow input here, but I can also manually clock this by tapping it in, so I'm just going to do that for simplicity. I would definitely be clocking Melotus most of the time when you're not making a YouTube video on it. So in comes our blend, and I have my regen all the way down. We'll just bring that in. You'll recognize these regen controls from Desmodus if you've ever been in that module for any time. And that includes bringing it up to the point where it will duck, right? And already, I feel like I probably don't have to introduce granular and what it does to the audience, but do you just hear that there's some, real interesting shimmer stuff going on, right? This isn't your normal reverb like a hall or a room or a plate. It's shimmering in a very, I don't know, they use the word texture, right? When people describe granular as clouds, I'm hearing the clouds. And I don't just mean the module, although I feel like the module was aptly named. So that's the clock mode. This is the hold mode. So now you do get sort of an ongoing reverb or delay, or somewhere in between I hear, but when you tap it, it'll hold the parts of the buffer. And I have no words other than, are you hearing this right now? Like, them describing it as a stereo textualizer, I usually think of that as like marketing fluff, but when I hear that, I'm all about it. So if we clock the flow input now, so now following our beat, we're holding that buffer. I might need to get down in divisions so we can do it less often. Let's go down to sending it a square wave LFO from Pam's just. I love that. How does it sound with a regen way down? Interesting. So this regen circuit, I guess, or circuit, is outside of what's happening in the freeze, right? So if we do a little bit of regen. Yeah. See, I am blending. I'm getting ahead. There's also freeze, which is different than hold. Let's go to freeze. If I stop clocking it, I just hold the freeze, you just get like strings from it, right? It is like resynthesis in a way, especially when you're holding a solid note. And some of my favorite patches on beads when I owned it briefly were just sending it super fast clocks to the freeze input, I believe. So if we're in freeze mode here, and we'll bring that clock way up. You can get these sort of interesting textures too. I don't know if I would give up that other hold mode that we were listening to. I really like that. Bring our clock division back down to do that. Like just cinematic is the adjective I would use. If you bring that regen all the way up, we haven't even got into much of the minutiae yet. So, hey, gonna go back into clock mode though, just because it's the most like straightforward of the modes, I would say, and then we'll talk about the different modes. Notice that I was in forward mode this entire time. We'll talk about those modes up top in a moment as well. But I want to clock this in clock mode, obviously, so I'm gonna switch my clock over to 4 on the floor as well. Bring my regen down. Maybe this is too fast. The thing, I'm not sure what kind of clock it prefers. Maybe I'll get to that point in the manual at some point here, but let's bring our clock down here. I've made my length longer. Maybe we want it shorter. Maybe if I tap flow in clock mode now. 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and... There we go. There's my clock, so I'm manually clocking it. It'll do its own thing now. I want to talk first about the tone. So it combines both sort of the high-pass, low-pass DJ style filter that you saw on Desmodus, but also, sorry, I'm going to try and not block the camera, also adds some pitch shifting as well. So it isn't just the filter. maybe I need more length to change it. The thing with controls like that are going to be affected by what's in your buffer. So if I change the length to be longer, you hear some octaves up, right? And that's cool if you go a little bit up. But what is like crazy atmospheric and doomy, I guess, is to go down, so sub-octaves start coming in. And yeah, very, very nice. Clock should still be running. I just love the spots down here. It does like almost bypass itself. Well, there's a little bit of rumble if you listen real close. Go fully wet. But yeah. So I have delay on, and this will add a little bit of space between the incoming and the buffer, basically. If we bring our delay down, it'll basically be 1-to-1, right? Which is what I feel like I want, but if we bring our delay way up, and you use longer lengths, you can kind of get that, I don't know, I'm trying not to use cloud metaphors, but like loose cloud. And this cohere knob as well is how random it is, and I feel it's a little bit backwards in my mind. Like you want more random would be up, right? But it's more coherent, so you turn it up to make it more straightforward, and you turn it down. It'll introduce some actual stereo panning as well. Hopefully you can hear some of that. I'll turn the tone up just to make it really apparent, but you hear those little grains are in different spots on the stereo field, right? If we bring our tone down, and what if we make our length really short, and we're at the lowest sparsity. If we bring it up, it'll make it more sparse again. The minutia there. I think more grains is better in my mind, but if we do super long, maybe a little less random, bring back the delay, and it's, yeah, that's where I want to be. Notice there is some pitch shifting. Reminds me of Desmodus in that way too. Here's some pitch movement when you're messing with the length. Let's bring in the dry a little bit. For me, I like having this delay all the way down. Regen, when you crank it, it will duck the incoming input, like I said, so it actually does make it nice when you sparsity as many grains as we can have, length all the way up, and then just make our feedback super high. Like this is crazy cloud coming in, but it'll duck at the input, right? So if I make my decays even shorter, you almost get this reverse sounding swell thing, right? Yes. And this is forward. We also have different modes where you have this random middle mode, which will alternate randomly, I believe. Let's see, what does the manual say? Chaos, so this will switch between forward and backwards. So listening to it, fully wet. Won't have a duck. Let's go backwards. Which is interesting because it sounds very forwards to me. But maybe if we do longer lengths, more sparse. Forward. I wonder if it's because the buffer needs to clear. But if we freeze it, backwards, forwards, chaos, just to try and demonstrate. If we do super long, super sparse, so it's just like one big buffer. Cohere all the way up, so it's most straightforward. Chaos. Regen all the way down. Can you just get it to like play a single note? Let's mess with the tone. It is feeding back in some way. Got some delay to like it swivel. Oscillate, I guess is the word. Maybe? We're doing granular things. Hold. I like how hold, it has this like building effect. I don't know what means like the buffer stops clearing and it just takes all new input and stacks it, but I like that. Let's send some clocks that way. In they come into the flow input. Let's get some of those. More grains, shorter ones at that. Let's go into chaos mode. Less coherent, less delayed. Maybe a little too much tone. And then let's start sending some LFOs. So in comes 1 for the tone. Let's go forward. Here's how clock sounds. Yeah. So I'm modulating the tone. What if I modulate the regen? I feel like you almost want to take your clock out. Right? Because it's still clocked, is what I'm hearing. But regen hitting that LFO. It's still clocked, but I am not getting that like weird reset that was happening at the beginning. So maybe once it already has that set, what happens if we modulate the sparseness? Bring in some more regen so we can hear that. I feel like this delay just needs to be down. Even though I know in clock mode it's a division of the clock, but I just want it to be into reverb territory as my own personal preferences. Just in case y'all are getting bored, let's try a different oscillator. That is Piston Honda. Let's do a little bit of wavetable movement here, and then slow this down even a little bit. I just want to turn that into an atmosphere using Melotus. And it does that, right? My VicX is getting jealous. Like, textures were texturized. Let's modulate the length. And I think that's going to mean some pitch shifting. Yeah. I like that. Delay modulation, I want to see how it sounds. Haunting. Ooh. Yeah. I really dig that. Okay. Let's send in some drums just for curiosity. How's that sound? Let's go into a different project and load that up. Here comes our kick. Yeah. Bring in Melotus now. I'm going to put tone at noon just to start. And because I want to show you something, if we bring the length down, I'll tap this in manually again for simplicity. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you bring the tone down, you just get cool techno rumbles. Bring that length down, especially to get into reverb territory. Cohere up a little bit just to make it a little more straightforward. Delay down too. We're into like crazy reverb here, right? By crazy, I mean it's a reverb, but crazy. Transition in, bring my kick out. Just makes the dry kit so much more interesting, right? Goes for kick. Tone up, bend down. Yeah, I mean, texturizer might be right. Let's modulate with a triangle wave, maybe our tone. Push it a little into the negative just to give it some room to modulate up, right? And I'll put that regen up to ducking just to hear it. This drum line might be too busy to reset quite the same, but let's hear it fully wet. This is what's actually going on. That's really cool. See, and I didn't need a PhD in granular synthesis to achieve some craziness here, right? Let's make my length a little longer. Try high pass side of things on the right side of the tone knob. Yeah. All right, Melotus, I'd say high pass afterwards. Makes granular really easy. Makes textures that I love on the granular synth side of things. I mean, in the realm of like reverbs and stuff, it's just like a really good one. And I say that with nothing but love because that's what I want out of granular, is these super interesting textures that are made from manipulating a buffer. Alright, I'm tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next video.